Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing Uncorked, which is a brand new Netflix movie, which is actually the second review I've done today. I did Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which if you want to see that review, click right up there in the eye to see that video, or subscribe to the channel to see the video and all my videos coming up next. I'm doing a bunch of streaming movies since, there's no new releases coming out in theaters, so why not quarantine and chill with me watching all these different movies? Let's get excited. Comment below what movies you also want me to review that's streaming, that's available, or that's new. I will more than likely do it because, I love movies and I love talking about them. So let's get into Uncorked. So the basic premise of this movie is that it's about Elijah, who is kind of torn between two worlds. He wants to become a sommelier, which is basically a wine expert. He can drink wine from just any type of wine. He'd be able to tell you, where it's from, how it was made, what all these different little aspects of it. And it's part of this test that he has to do, and he's going to school for it. And he's very passionate about it, which I think is the most important thing about this movie. And kind of the message about this movie is if you're passionate about something, go for it. But the problem is he's kind of stuck in between these two worlds, like I said, with his dad and this business that he has that started with his father, and now it's passed down to him that he wants to pass down to his son Elijah. This business that he has, this restaurant that he has, and it's a problem for Elijah because obviously he wants to follow his dreams, but he doesn't want to go against his father. And I think this relationship between father and son is why you watch this movie. I think this relationship is by far the best thing about this movie. It is excellent. The performances between those two characters and the actress who plays the mom is awesome. I loved all three of those characters, and I think this main conflict really did carry through this movie very well, and I think it was very complex. This relationship was very fleshed out, and you got to see, their interactions with each other when they were talking with each other, when they aren't talking with each other, which is maybe even more powerful, and all the little in-between moments and how they interact with some of these side characters around them talking about this main conflict was very, very good. And I say that because my issues with this movie lies within all the external conflicts that do not really have too much influence on this main storyline, because this movie does have a lot of obstacles along the way, and none of these obstacles seem to really impact or stop Elijah from really achieving his goals. And I do think that maybe some of these things should have kind of sat on it. I think this movie is very, very quickly edited, and it travels through a lot of storyline very quickly. And, for an example, this one moment where he has an argument with his girlfriend, right? And the next moment, like 5 minutes later, this argument is completely done and never mentioned again. Or say like he has this money issue. He needs to get money to do this thing so he can go to Paris. And then all of a sudden, the money issues are solved and boom, he's in Paris. And this issue does actually come back. There are more money issues later on in the movie. And that kind of saved it for me. A lot of these smaller issues kind of get resolved, but then they come back and become a problem again later on, like the money issue. But there's a lot of smaller moments within the movie that kind of go by really fast. And this is really my biggest issue with this movie by far. I think some of these side characters, and they're really not that fleshed out, and the kind of the issues that they present to the main character and these smaller conflicts kind of just are brushed off to the side and are moved past very quickly. And then this is a problem for the movie. And I do think the main conflict is so present and so good that it makes me forgive this issue a little bit, but it's definitely glaring, and it's definitely something that I just wish, I wish the movie slowed down a little bit and just kind of sat on these problems and, had some real impact on the main character. And I do think other issues I have with this movie is it has a great soundtrack. Don't get me wrong, I love the soundtrack in this movie. However, it can be really in your face at times. It kind of reminded me of Booksmart, which came out last year, or the year before. Actually it was last year. 2019, Booksmart came out, and it has very in your face obnoxious music. And this movie does not have music that's as obnoxious in your face, but it reminded me of that because it has that same kind of style. And the director, I do think he does a pretty good job here, but he doesn't really know how to transition from one scene to the next. And it seems like every time he transitions from one, big part of the movie to the next one, he does these montage, like B-roll with music playing behind it, and it happens a lot. And I'm telling you, it happens almost every scene is made with the transition with hip-hop music, and there's a montage with a bunch of B-roll and then showing you what location they're at now, and then boom, the music completely cuts off, silence, and you get into the storyline and the dialogue and all that. And it's very kind of there's rhythm to it, and the rhythm becomes very obvious. And you don't really want to notice editing in a movie, but this movie, the editing was kind of obvious, and it kind of became repetitive. And one big thing, there's a dinner table scene early on where there's like 8 characters at a table, right? And one character starts talking, the camera's on them. Next character starts talking, the camera's on them, and it cuts between every character as they talk, and you get absolutely no reaction shots from the actors. So maybe Elijah will say something to his dad, and you want to see his dad's reaction to what Elijah is saying, but the camera's on Elijah. And then when the dad says something, you're like, oh man, I wonder how Elijah's reacting to this. But you don't get to see his reaction. You just get to see, the dad saying it. And I do think this movie could have used a lot more reaction shots to kind of emphasize the emotional impact that this movie should have had. I do think there's one emotional thing that happens in this movie that doesn't have as much of a punch as I wanted it to have. I do think it hits a bit, but the movie doesn't really get you as much investments as it wants you to. I don't think I was as invested as the filmmakers wanted, and I do think that's kind of a shortcoming of the director. And I did like the direction of this movie, and I hope he goes on to do more stuff, and I'll probably watch his next project, and I hope it ends up good. But I do think he was probably the biggest issue with this movie, unfortunately. But all the acting is great. He got great performances from every single actor on this movie, especially Elijah, his mom, and his dad. They are excellent in this movie. And the humor in this movie is very good. It's labeled as a drama on IMDb, which is probably right, but it is a very funny movie. And when the comedy hits, it really does hit. It is a very, very funny movie, which is just great. It's lighthearted. It was kind of a nice change of pace, and it's fast paced too. Like, there's never really a dull moment. It doesn't really slow down because it's a freight train kind of going through a lot of different things. But that is my review on Uncorked. If you guys like this review, subscribe to the channel and comment below what you guys thought of the movie and what other movies you want me to review in this time of quarantine with all these new streaming releases. I might not be able to catch all of them. The Uncorked, I only knew about this because I looked up the Netflix release schedule. But Portrait of a Lady on Fire, I did not know that was coming out on Netflix until yesterday when I watched the movie. So yeah, let me know some other streaming movies you guys want me to watch. I probably don't know about many of them. I'll probably do a review for Ozark, which just came out. Season 3 just came out. I love season 1 and 2, and I kind of want to rewatch those before I get into 3, so it might be a little while. So in the meantime, comment below some suggestions. I'm open up to anything really. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you all in my next one.